Hello everyone. I'm here today with Alison and Jodi. It will be a bit different today because normally I'm interviewing just one person. So now interviewing two. They used to say that not two is one, but in two people, one person. So just a very quick introduction. Both Alison and Jodi have a career in education. So Alison started with child care management, looking after the little kids, while Jodi was lecturing at university, as she says, teaching big kids. Both Alison and Jodi came along, joined together to become entrepreneurs together, and they're the founders of Frog Ponds. So we're here to hear a little bit about their stories, and welcome, girls. It's very nice to have you.
Thank you, Wilson. Lovely to be here. Thank you.
So we have a traditional ice breaking, which is Alison, Jodi. Would you be happy to share a little bit about yourself, your own stories?
Absolutely. Yes, we can start with that. So thanks for giving the background about us. Jodi was a high school science teacher and maths teacher. And I actually was a primary school teacher. So we are, if you had to describe the two of us, it's a yin and a yang. There is very little much about us that crosses over in the middle. We are very different in every way possible. We think differently, we have different skills, and that's what makes us very good co-founders. It's a nice synergy between the two of us and the way we work together. So yes, we met nearly 7 years ago, and we met because we both applied for one job together, and that was as a professional learning consultant. So we'd both come out of schools and we were teaching teachers how to use technology. We applied for the one job and we both got it. So we ended up working together, and then from that day onwards we were a package deal. So we've moved through 3 different companies together, learning all about how schools procure and source and how they learn how to use technology, and we helped schools for a good 6 years in that space. And in that space we learnt a lot about some of the gaps in the market and some of the challenges that schools were facing. And there was a moment when we were just walking along the road one day and I said, why can't this be done differently? And Jodi went off and did what Jodi does, bought me a notepad
and started writing notes and dot points of what we were going to do next.
And that
very
was
nice.
The very
I didn't get that right. So it was one job and you both get it, or you have 2 vacancies?
No, there was one job, and the one who was qualified and could do it was Jodi.
And then the one who was persuasive was Alison. So she talked her way into a second job, and they realized
it's very unique in itself. So you created the job for the 2 of you.
Did?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, it was meant
Very
to be.
nice.
Definitely.
Yes, and Jodi taught me a lot in that first year together.
I taught Alison technology. She wrote my emails.
So well, first of all, my apologies because I mentioned childcare and university, and then you correct me with primary school and high school. So sorry for that.
No, we have covered all of those as well. So yes, we've got
you started your career as teachers then. So can you jump a little bit before that? Was that your dream? Is that what you wanted to do when you were younger?
No. You got one yes and one no.
Me, very much so. I started teaching a little bit later. So I didn't start my teaching degree until I was about 20. So I graduated at 24, which gave me those few extra years. But no, I loved teaching, and it was definitely my calling and what I wanted to do.
Nice.
Yeah. Whereas, of course, Alison will now be the opposite.
Yes, no, I never wanted to be a teacher. I was into the arts, and I went to the WA Academy of Performing Arts for a while and did visual art. And then I decided that I didn't want to continue down that path, but I'd love to teach art instead. So I went down to go and become a qualified teacher so that I could teach art, and ended up teaching everything, including drama and theatre sports and things, which was fun.
You did mention that at a certain point, you got the job, and the job became to consult to teachers to actually, help teachers to get to know more about technology. So that looks intriguing. So I'm curious about that. You teachers, but then you become, you start working with technology. How that happen?
Yeah, it's interesting. Jodi's always been very technical. She's a bit of a nerd.
I was going to say she's being nice and not using the word nerd, but yes, I'm definitely a nerd. And it was something I was doing within my school, was working with teachers to increase their technology usage. And then I obviously happened to fall into a job doing that, where we coached teachers on how they could change their teaching practice from a more traditional I'm going to write on the whiteboard and you will do the activity, to how can we incorporate technology in a meaningful way to encourage learning and collaboration.
And I had a completely opposite opinion on that as well. I was very passionate about technology not being used in teaching just because it was new and shiny and exciting, and I wanted it to be used very carefully, and so only introduced when it was for a very strong purpose and authentic. And so that was where I came from. Moving into technology, I was very much, it shouldn't be in the classroom, it's interrupting the communication. And I've learned a lot from Jodi and from watching best practice and from encouraging and seeing teachers use technology in a purposeful way.
So isn't that interesting what's happening recently? Because now, you just went nuts in terms of using technology to deliver training, to deliver education, and now everybody's talking about the experience of the students through online education and where we're gonna get, I guess. So some changes that are coming to completely, change that world. So you did mention about you identified that there was a need in the market when you're talking about procurement and etc. So at that point in time, you guys had jobs, you were employees.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that journey of, how, where that impetus for becoming an entrepreneur came from?
It came from an absolute desire to change the space that we were in. So we were at a point where we were really, really frustrated with the sales process for both sides. Schools don't have enough time to go and get quotes. They don't have, they've got tight budgets most of the time, and they need to make the most of what they've got. So they didn't have time to be searching through their emails or, returning 15 phone calls, and some of them get up to 30 a day from salespeople. And on the other side, the sales suppliers are trying to get mostly good products into schools that will help, and they can't make those connections with schools. So we'd seen it from both sides. We'd also seen a lot of differences in pricing for schools. So across the board, schools were getting pricing based on the size of the school, pricing based on, products that they may or may not need. And we didn't like the fact that there was a lack of equality. And so we decided that if we made the buyer anonymous and opened the market and put it on a platform, that it would actually change that space. And that's what we did.
Nice. It does look like you guys had a very good idea of a problem, an industry problem, and you onto it to develop a solution for that. So I'm more curious on, okay, so you identified that there was a need in the market. You guys are smart enough to come up with a solution for it. But then you had your salaries, you were employees. So how you go about, actually, did you quit your job to start a company? What happened there?
Not at first, Wilson. At first, we continued there was an overlap. So we sort of stayed with the company as long as we knew we were going to get a redundancy. So that sort of helped. And then we just poured all heart, soul, sweat, tears, everything you can into starting it, and just took that risk. And one of the beautiful things about Jodi is that she is amazing at managing the finances and the money. And we do keep it quite separate, because I think sometimes when you're thinking about big picture ideas, if you're restricted by budget and you're worried about the finances, you don't see the whole thing. You only see what is possible, not what, what could be
achievable. Yeah.
And so Jodi and I work that way together. So I'll just go, right, we can do this. And she'll go, And, she's off there doing a spreadsheet or something to
right, do you want 4 camels? We can only afford 1 llama, but okay, we'll make it work.
She does
Very
it
good.
She's done it from day one. So I'm very grateful to her for that.
So we were very lucky in our timing in that we were made redundant from a position that we weren't very enthusiastic about. So that payout is what started the company.
Okay, so you did have some initial investment in the company because you got some, the payout of redundancy that made you guys, made the jump. So, Jodi, you mentioned before. Well, let me do the other way around. So you're now with Frog Points for a couple of years. So you're going through that journey of a startup. I reckon now you'd have an experience that you didn't have before in terms of what really is to have a company and to go through the hurdles and the despair, to make it happen with the difficulties and etc. So I assume that you didn't know how that was before going into it. Did you?
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
No.
If you knew it, you still do that jump?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Without hesitation. Yes.
Like we both nodded. We are very lucky in that we're very passionate about the problem that we're solving. We think we can solve 2 sides of an issue that will help a lot of people. So regardless of the roller coaster and the difficulties, what we're doing will make a difference. So that, I suppose, is our driver.
Nice. What about the fact that this path is not a traditional path, right? So if you employ and decided to have a venture, you might talk with your friends, with your colleagues in the education sector, and they all may think like, that's a little bit crazy. So why are you doing this? And would you have stories that discourage you guys to go in that journey?
Yeah, we do. I think there was an overall response back at the beginning where people just said we were ambitious. As a criticism, not as a. It wasn't a compliment.
No,
it was
not encouraging.
That's ambitious. And you're ambitious, and I've been called intimidating because of my focus on work. No, we've had quite a lot of feedback, and it's not always been great.
No, it hasn't always. But I think one of the other advantages we have is there are 2 of us. So anything that comes at us, we can sort of talk through and try and work out where that feedback is coming from and then why we're going to ignore it.
Or learn from it. I mean, a lot of the time. So one of the very first things I did when we thought about starting Frog Ponds is just got on the phone, spent nearly all night on the phone, talking to anyone I knew that had experience in that industry that I knew would tell me if it was a stupid idea. In no uncertain terms, tell me what the truth of the matter was. And I spent a long time listening and talking through and having questions fired at me. And at the end of every one of those conversations, they said, that should work. And there was no, it won't work. It was interesting. It's an interesting idea. It was worth trying. So there was a lot of those conversations before we started anything.
So look, I'm quite fascinated by this story. The way it comes about. You talk about being educators before, and Jodi would have that sort of passion to go for it, and that's what I wanted to do. Alison, you find the passion through your work, and ended up being in education. And yet you went to become an entrepreneur. So you both went to become entrepreneurs. Did you ever dream about that before?
In a way, because I see as an entrepreneur as someone who solves a problem. And when you're a teacher, you're constantly learning and you're constantly solving problems. And yours, everyone else is around you. And that's the beauty of having that background, is that we will always be looking to solve a problem to make the world a better place. And I see that as an overlap rather than something different.
So, okay, so I know you guys a little bit from the journey of frog ponds. I have seen you talking about it. I have seen you, engaging with people to share news about frog ponds and etc. Tell us something fun that happened in the last 2 years in the journey. Something that you didn't expect, and came along as something that you had fun with.
I have to say, even on the worst days, we have fun every single day. And
that's the perception I have from you guys, Alison and Jodi. So, I always see you smiling. So
we're both laughing because we're going, I don't know about you, in my brain I'm going, which story do I pick?
Yeah.
Because there is us standing in the middle of somewhere laughing at whatever situation we've got ourselves into, and then just laughing a little bit more. It is a joy to be on this journey with Alison. We always find the positive and the funny side. Often we are the funny side.
So let me put this way. So for many people that are out there thinking that we could have a company, right? So we could have a business, we have an idea, and etc. And they have this, this jihad is that hard, and etc. So one of the things that they may say is that I don't have a good network. I don't know too many people, or the people I know, not necessarily can help me. So then you are a small startup company in a scene of, there's a big things happening in Western Australia. And then I see you guys organize an event that bring a state minister to talk. So tell me how that pitch is. What do you do to get a minister to come and talk to, in a small company event?
Yes, you ask. And that's something. You just ask for what you want and what you need, and most of the time it works. We often go in there with the best of intentions and with a good purpose, and if you are honest with people and you're clear about what you want, people will help. So yes, we went to go and see Minister Ben Wyatt, all of us. We all went in, all sat at his desk, and he sort of got a bit overwhelmed and went, "What do you need from me?" And we went, "Well." No, he was very, very helpful and very supportive. And then yesterday we spent some time with Kim Beazley, the governor.
The Honourable Kim Beazley, governor.
Yes, and we did the same there.
We just asked.
We ask for advice. We ask for support. And what can you get? No. Still ask.
I think that's been part of our learning, though, is to ask for what it is that we'd like, rather than assume that they're going to say no or that they're not going to want to help. But once we tell the story of what it is we're trying to do, everybody so far has said yes. They would love to help in whatever way it is we're asking.
So it's a nice thing there, because, yes, exactly that point that you just mentioned, Jodi, is that many times in our lives we don't do that jump, that leap of faith, because we're afraid that they're going to say no. And you're mentioning now that you learn in your journey that, we have to ask. So I think the no we already have, right? So, well, not going to lose anything if I ask.
Absolutely. And Alison is very good at asking.
Yeah.
Okay. So, it's funny because the funny thing is that I have in this conversation, I can see you guys humble, bit shy, and I'm seeing those sort of different personas of the Alison and Jenna entrepreneurs coming along and shining, making the noise and make it happen, and coming at a governor, as a meeting room, in a minister meeting room, and just being big and dreaming big. So if I go the other way around, so do you have a big dream? What is the big dream?
We do have a big dream. So we want to build frog ponds to scale. So we want the whole of Australia to know about frog ponds, not just in education, but in not-for-profit space as well.
And business.
And business to business and
government.
And government as well. and ultimately we've built frog ponds to solve a problem and to take us on this journey to learn, which we are doing. And then once we've got to that point, we actually are looking to exit the company. So we're sort of building up for that now. And that's something we learned in the investment early days, that you have to plan for that as well. And then I believe Jodi's going to build a house with a wing on it for me to live in or something.
Yes.
Me on the roof or something, yeah. And then
you're going to have your granny flat.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'll have a granny flat out the back. And our next goal after that is to actually step onto the other side of the investment and to look for female-founded companies that we can support. And we can be there for some other people that are coming up, going through the same struggles and challenges that we are going through now. We want to help other people to do it.
That's very inspirational, I guess. That's cool. So it does lead to the thoughts that I have about, diversity and gender equality or gender equity. So do you guys feel that as female founders of a startup, you had any extra hurdle that you feel was because you were women?
You got anything?
Not overtly, no.
I actually think we are really fortunate to be in a time where there's been many other women before us that have paved a way that's made it so much easier for us now. And there's female-founded investment companies. There's, there's startup groups and things that are focused on. I think mainly we've struggled to be taken seriously, but I don't even know if that would be a gender-related thing.
It could just be us.
So no, I wouldn't say that. I would say there's plenty of opportunities out there for female founders now that wouldn't have been around before.
So when you say that you guys have this dream of potentially becoming investors and help other female founders that come along the way to go the same way. So what are the things that you think that today groups like one group that I'm part of is Birth Angels, and that's where we know each other from. So is there anything in particular that groups like Birth Angels could do to help more?
It's a good question. Birth Angels have been very supportive of us, and we're really lucky that we do have two lovely Perth Angel investors on board with us, and they are phenomenal. They put everything in as well. It's not just capital, it's their expertise that we value. I would suggest probably more networking between the entrepreneurs themselves, because that gives them an opportunity to learn from each other, and that doesn't seem to be something we've seen there. But other than that, no, it's a really lovely.
It's a lovely vibe.
Yeah.
Tell me what would you tell to young girls, and not only girls, women, ladies of any age that want to open their own company? So do you have any tip or advice or something to say?
What is the saying? If you need inspirational motivation, don't do a startup or something. Look, it's I would say be prepared to put absolutely everything and then more in terms of your time, your energy, your finances. Risk everything if that's what you really want to do. And if you're not prepared to put absolutely everything, and I mean family and everything on the line, I wouldn't do it.
I would say find someone you can work with that is going to compliment you. And not just in a you look nice sort of way, but one of our massive strengths is our diversity of thought. So we will quite often argue through the scenario and how we're going to solve that particular problem, and having that second person and a different perspective is an incredible advantage. And I admire people who go on this journey by themselves, because I think that would just be so challenging.
It really would.
Find someone you can work with. It would be my advice.
Absolutely.
So you just said, because you're quite right. So looking at startup companies and entrepreneurs and groups, being a founder and entrepreneur myself, I find that having the right partners next to you are quite fundamental, right? So it's very significant. So, and I mentioned that before to you guys. So you guys inspire me in the connection that you do have. My curiosity is not all flowers. I think, do you fight? Do you disagree?
No.
No, we disagree.
Yeah.
Quite all the time.
Always.
But the strength of our relationship is where we'll explain why we're thinking what we're thinking. So there will be a big discussion about, I think we should go with the blue because the blue is the much prettier. We will argue through with reasoning. And I've also learnt to trust Alison a lot more. Her entrepreneurial skills are amazing. So what I will quite often come when I do disagree is convince me that you're right.
That's often the way a discussion goes, Jodi. You'll go, convince me why, or tell me why I don't like this. Tell me why I should, and that's where we end up.
I'm fascinated by the maturity of your relationship. So I'm very happy for you guys.
We have been through a lot together, Wilson, and Jodi's just a phenomenal person that has always stood there and done whatever needs to be done to get through things. So, yeah.
So, Jodi, the young 10 or 15-year-old Jodi, would she say that you'd be here doing this these days?
Probably not, but she'd love it. Yes, younger Jodi was not quiet or shy or retiring and wanted to make an impact. So, yes, I think young Jodi would love this.
So you do have that sort of fire on you since the beginning. You knew you could do stuff.
Yes.
That's I might be insisting on this, but the reasoning is we hear a lot about the confidence, the self-confidence, or the lack of confidence that's very common, and I love the fact that you prove you prove everyone else wrong and that sort of thing. Now you look self-confident and look like you were always like that. So that's great.
I was very lucky. Yes, I've always had that confidence and a background that allowed that. I think is where I'm very lucky.
What about you, Alison?
Yeah, total opposite.
As usual.
Yeah, never would have predicted that I would have started a technology company of anything. No, I'm the least nerdy person that I know. And often when people ask in a networking event, what do you do? I have struggled to say that I own a technology company because for me, it has never felt right. So it's never been something that I thought I would be doing. It's just something that we did to solve a problem. So no. Certainly not a confident public speaking kind of out there person. So I've had to learn to come out a little bit.
I've had to go back a bit.
Jodi's had to go back. I've had to come out.
So, look, believe it or not, so we have been talking for 30 minutes. Try and push here. The time is passing very quick. So I'm loving the conversation. So I'm very intrigued. So I'll keep talking with you guys later on, and I'm intrigued with the more introvert sort of Alison and Jodi in this conversation, which is giving me a different perspective of both of you. But and I like so that sort of more not introvert, introspective of thinking, and that's pretty good. So what is? Tell us, that would be the last question. So it's more for us to know where you are at with Froggy Ponds and what is coming next, and how we reach out to you guys.
Great. Okay, we have massive plans for Frog Ponds over the next few months. It's going to see the launch of our social impact pond, which is for not-for-profit organisations to join and simplify their sourcing. We are working with the Department of Finance, which we will continue after the election once that has finished. And we are looking at some business-to-business opportunities as well. So for businesses to centralise their procurement, if they're multi-site places, they can come to us and we can offer the software as a service to solve some of those issues for them. And anyone that wants to contact us, I would suggest probably LinkedIn is the best way to contact us directly, or just go to our website and send us a quick email or call us.
Very nice.
We love to chat.
We do like to chat.
Yeah, I do know that. So, so look, again, I have to, thank you guys for accepting this invitation to talk with us. Changing the Game show is a new one that we're launching. So, and having you guys is a privilege. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Wilson, for having us.
Yeah. Thank you, Wilson.